Hello and welcome. I'm Kay and I like to tell stories. Mostly they'll be true stories. I might embellish just a little just to make it fun. In today's story, I want to talk about stalking at the workplace. This is a story of a coworker of mine who I worked with in a very large retail store, whose girlfriend used to come in pretty much daily and ask for him. Then we'd have to try and find him. And one day I asked him if, his radio was on. Most days that I worked, and also my other coworkers in the department come up to them and go, "Where's C?" I'm just going to call him C for this story because I don't want to reveal his name. I always thought that she was his girlfriend and that they were a couple. This is the impression that she gave the rest of us. There was a very, very long history there. She, as it turns out, was his ex-wife for a good reason. So she did do some not too major abuse, but there was a lot of physical little altercations. She didn't hurt him bad, but one day I saw him with scratches and other abrasions on his face and his upper neck and kind of asked him what happened. And he did admit that it was her. She got into a tizzy in the car and scratched him up really good. What I would observe with her also is seeing her ringing up a lot of stuff with C standing next to her. One time in particular, I saw her ringing it all up. Also, I saw her at the self-checks. Sometimes when I was on break or just going through the store, C would be standing next to her. She would be ringing up all kinds of things. These weren't grocery items or anything like that. These were personal, feminine hygiene products, makeup, all kinds of things like that. And at the end of it one time, I saw him swipe his employee discount card, and none of those items were for him. So she was having him pay for her personal items. And this was more than once that I saw her doing that. And so he would spend his break basically going around and paying for all of her things. So that was one way that she took advantage of him with the money. The other way that she took advantage of his money was by vandalizing his items, including his car and his TV one time when he was at work. It got so bad that he would park 3 or 4 blocks away on a different street so that she wouldn't see it when she came over and wouldn't be able to mess with it. She stole items out of his car. She also would damage things on the inside and key up his car, typical crazy ex-girlfriend, crazy ex-wife in this case. One day at work, I was with C, and he told me that she had gotten into his house. Well, she doesn't live there anymore. They're not together. She shouldn't be in it. But she came in, and she cut the cord on his brand new flat-screen TV. That was it. She's done other damage to things like that, taken items out of his house. I don't know what right she thinks she has, but she does think that she can just do any of these things. When she would come in and ask us where C was, I couldn't always locate him and he wouldn't answer his radio. I couldn't always call him on the radio. So when I did find him, I would ask, "Did you have your radio on?" and things like that. He would say something like, "Well, I don't have it with me." After a while, he did admit that he didn't have his radio anymore. It's gone. Oh, what happened? It was stolen. He did not say who it was who stole the radio. Not at least until quite a while in the future. It turns out she had broken into his car. He had his radio sitting on the seat. She took it. And another time, she was in the passenger side of the car and he was in the driver's side. She picked up his radio and started smashing it and wrecked that one too. Needless to say, they no longer would give him a radio at work. He did pay for the one. He knows he's responsible for it. But this is what I'm talking about, vandalism. There were more instances. He didn't tell me every single detail, though. One day I did speak to C about the possibility of getting a restraining order on her so that if she came around, he could just call the police. She would be arrested. One of the problems with that was she would do these things while he's at work and even messed with his car once in the parking lot. He wasn't safe really anywhere. His belongings certainly weren't safe. And he was afraid to do a restraining order. I know that those are time limited, and he just didn't want to try to poke that bull any more than he had to. But I just thought it was very sad that lawfully what she's doing is illegal. She's stalking him at work and at home, always trying to let him know, I'm here. Don't forget about me. I control you. He did consider at least getting a restraining order, but I don't think that he actually got one. I no longer worked at that store, so I didn't see him for a good long time. Some time ago, my son did run into him at a Taco Bell. He just wanted to see how C was doing and everything. It turns out he's back with her, and in fact, he was running out to get her the Taco Bell food. He also let my son know that he was fired, but didn't know why. He didn't exactly say why. He says he no longer worked there at the store and that he had gotten fired. I suppose it might have had a lot to do with her. I don't know. C did show up for work. He's not one to call in, but he also spent an awful lot of time talking and walking around, not really doing much. There are people in this world that just vampirize others. If it wouldn't be C that she was doing this to, it would be some other poor guy. And they take everything that they have, damaged stuff, so they always are broke. Their paychecks come in, but they're spent either repairing something that she has broken, or people like her, others are like her. So their money is always just going through the sieve. It's falling out. They can't get ahead. So they don't have a great quality of life because they're pretty much just trying to make ends meet. I have another example of a coworker also doing physical things at the workplace. In this story, I'm just going to call him Jay. Jay is not the smartest cookie in the cookie jar by any means. I can give a couple of examples of why this is. The first one would be because he didn't seem to want to do what managers asked him to do. They were very nice about it. We worked at the same place, same retail store, very big. On occasion, they would ask us to do something, and he would argue with them, both over the radio and face-to-face, that, in a nutshell, it wasn't in his job description. That's the very last thing that you want to say to a manager. They are asking you to do something because they need to have it done and it's urgent, so you just go and do it. The other reason he's not very bright is he met not one, but two women, in quotations, over the internet. At least with one of them, he would be emailing them back and forth, thinking that he's speaking to a woman. In another case, he would be speaking to her on the phone. Most likely, this was a bot. He would be on it for, what did he say, an hour and a half, something like that, with this woman. One of those women, in quotations, that he was speaking to had said that it was her birthday coming up. Jay wanted to do the nice thing and send her some flowers. So he sent him out, paid for him, sent him out. She contacted him, letting him know she did not receive those flowers. So then he was thinking, well, maybe I should just send her the money for the flowers and then she could buy them herself, purchase what she liked. So that was a scam, as was this other one. He never did figure that out. People were cautioning him at different times because this was a subject that came up all the time. It's all he wanted to talk about. One day, he was off walking around when he should have been paying attention to what it was that he filled. I was there, as was another lady from a different department right by our lockers. To get him to pay attention and maybe potentially learn a lesson, I said to him, "Hey, Jay, this is overfilling, oh no." And he ran over and saw that it wasn't quite yet. And I said, "I'm kidding, but you should really watch that." Before I could even finish that sentence, he'd already punched me in the shoulder. That is what he did. And I looked at him. The lady that was standing at the locker, her mouth was hanging open, right? And I thought about what to do. This guy isn't that smart, but he is smart enough to know that it is illegal and not allowed in the workplace to punch, kick, scratch, whatever, other employees. So I stood there for a second after the punch, figuring out how do I respond to this. I realized that the only thing this guy would understand is if I punched him back. So I punched him in the shoulder. And the lady standing by the lockers had an even bigger O on her face because she had just witnessed a mini fight, I guess is what you would call it. I'm not really sure what you would call that. But I didn't worry about it. I had to handle it. There's just no sense in me going to the office. Oh, he punched me. They're not going to care. In the context of it, it wasn't, he punched me in the face and knocked me down. This is coming after a story that he told me already one day at his home with his sister. They were adults, but they were all together in the house at the same time. Jay had a very bad toothache. Something was really bothering him. He was in a lot of pain. He let his sister know that. His sister was sitting on a recliner type chair in the living room. She was just kind of poking fun at him, like that's what we do when we have siblings. And he decided to punch her right in the face. He punched her really hard and knocked the chair back. So she fell backwards out of the chair and rolled out over this toothache. She didn't touch him. He didn't say anything like that because I asked him, well, what'd you do? Try to hit you, slap you in the jaw where it hurt? No, she was sitting in a chair. So he decided he should just bash his sister so hard that it knocked her out of the chair and gave her a hurt jaw. And he was all self-satisfied with that. Perfectly fine. So I wasn't surprised when he punched me in the shoulder. This is what he does. He never did learn that lesson, as far as I know. But he did learn that day not to punch me. The moral of this story is don't punch people. Don't bring your personal life, your stalking, and your punching of your sibling to work with you. It is not appropriate, and it's not a good place. This doesn't create a good environment for anyone. Thank you for listening. I'll have some more stories in the future, true stories. I appreciate your time. You want to leave a like, go ahead. Got anything to say? Comments, that's great. You take care till next time. Bye.